Good evening. Welcome to the November 14th, 2022 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up tonight, I'm going to read a proclamation declaring November 26th as Small Business Saturday here in Stillwater. Whereas the municipal government of Stillwater, Oklahoma celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and our community. And whereas, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 32.5 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 62% of net new jobs created since 1995, and small businesses employ 46.8% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. Whereas 79% of consumers understand the importance of supporting small businesses in their communities on Small Business Saturday, 70% report the day makes them want to encourage others to shop small, independently owned retailers, and 66% report that the day makes them want to shop small all year long. And whereas 58% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business, and 54% reported they dined or ordered takeout from a small restaurant, bar, cafe, or cafe on Small Business Saturday in 2021. And whereas Stillwater, Oklahoma supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our community. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of Stillwater, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2022 as Small Business Saturday in Stillwater, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. It is holiday shopping time, and we have lots of great small businesses here in Stillwater for you to support, both on Saturday, coming up after Thanksgiving, and every other day as well. So that takes us to item 4 on the agenda, the consent docket. Councilors, questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion on second on consent. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. That takes us all the way down to item 7, public hearings. 7A is receive public comment regarding a request for a map amendment to rezone property addressed as 4703 North Washington Street from small lot single family residential to 2-family residential, CC-22-194. Do we have good notice?
Yes, we do.
Ms. Porter.
Good evening, Mayor and Council Member. My name is Jacqueline Porter, the City Planner, presenting the next several items on behalf of the Planning Department. The first item is a map amendment request located at 4703 North Washington Street, rezoning from RSS to RT. Here's an area map of the subject property near the intersection of Richmond and North Washington. The subject property is located north of the links of Stillwater apartment complex and the links golf course to the east. Silver Springs Trailer Park is located to the north of the subject property. Here's a street view looking east on North Washington. The current zoning of the subject property is a small lot single family with similar zoning to the west. The links are zoned with a PUD underlining zoning of RT and RSS, and commercial shopping and commercial general are located to the north. This slide contains images of the future land use map from the 2030 Comprehensive Plan. Future land use maps are used to forecast desired uses in the community at the time of the adoption of the Comprehensive Plan. The subject property proposed use is a 200-foot strip along North Washington as commercial with a low-density residential to the east. Aaron Ferguson is here with Keystone Engineering and Surveying, representing the applicant this evening. Are there any questions for staff at this time?
Counselors, any questions? Thank you, Jacqueline. This time I will open the public hearing. And we'll have the representative from the owner.
Hello, Aaron Ferguson with Keystone Engineering, here for the owner tonight. We are requesting that the proposed site be rezoned from RSS to RT zoning, and the intent is to plat the property to construct several duplexes on the property. It is located or surrounded by the Lynx Apartments to the south and east, as well as a trailer park to the north, and RT zoning will fit in with these existing uses. Surrounding zoning includes RSS, RTM, and even commercial shopping where the trailer park is located. So again, RT zoning would not be out of place with the higher zoning classifications immediately around. Are there any questions for me?
Counselors? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't have anyone else signed up for a public hearing on this item, so I'll close the public hearing. I'll ask Jacqueline to let us know what the recommendation from the Planning Commission was.
Planning Commission recommends approval with a vote of 4-0.
Thank you so much. Counselors?
Motion to accept Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second. We have a motion and a second to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, that item's approved. Item 7B is receive public comment regarding a request for map amendment to rezone properties addressed as 2000 South Sanger Road, zoned small lot single family residential, and 2100 South Sanger Road, two-family residential, both to office. This is CC-22-195. Do we have good notice on this item?
Yes, we do.
Jacqueline?
Thank you, Mayor. This next item is a request for a map amendment located at 2000 and 2100 South Sanger to rezone the properties to office. The subject properties are located near the intersection of 19th and South Sanger. 2100 South Sanger is the location of the Renaissance School. To the south is Stillwater Middle School, and Simmons Bank is located to the north of the subject properties. Here is a street view looking west off of South Sanger. The subject property, 2100 South Sanger, is zoned two-family residential, and 2000 South Sanger is zoned small lot single family. Surrounding zoning is office to the north and public to the south, and RSS to the east, and RT to the west. As you are well aware, this is the future land use map from the 2030 comprehensive plan. The desired use within this part of the community is a low-density residential with public located to the south. I want to discuss a little background on these two properties, just kind of why we got here. The property's address at 2100 South Sanger is the current location of the Renaissance School building, and the current zoning zone of RT, however, is a legal non-conforming use in the RT district. The property address at 2000 South Sanger contains a gravel parking lot for the use by the school and is currently zoned RSS. The owner is pursuing a map amendment to address the non-conforming uses of the property. Gravel parking lots are allowed as a primary and office districts with a specific use permit. Staff is working with applicant's representative, Ghost & Associates, in regards to the parking lot and available options. Rezoning the property to office would bring the school into conformance to allow for future development and expansion of the school. Stephen Ghost with Ghost & Associates is here on behalf of the applicant. Are there any questions for staff?
Counselors, any questions? Thank you, Jacqueline. This time I will open the public hearing. And Mr. Ghost, come here on behalf of the applicant.
Good evening, Councilors. Stephen Ghost, Ghost & Associates, 113 East 8th Avenue. I'm here asking for approval. Planning Commission recommended approval. Jackie covered everything that I could say, so there's no point in repeating it. So if there's any questions, I can try to do it, and the owners are also here if you got bigger questions. So
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you guess what it's going to be about?
The comprehensive
Traffic.
plan. Traffic.
What, I mean, this is right now, I think, just that additional parking lot, which is probably a good thing for
Correct.
traffic.
Correct.
But rezoning to office opens up the possibility of additional development in that area.
Right.
This may be actually a question for Jacqueline, but just in terms of if there were to be additional developments there, how would we handle the issue of dealing with traffic on that?
We're just going to have to see how it comes in, how it would block out or parcel out with regard to that. Right now, it's single family, so you could go put a driveway every 50 feet that would back out onto Sanger Road, which would be a nightmare. I would see this being, I mean, let's say there was multiple buildings, you'd consolidate the driveways for access. But without a user right now, we don't know. As Jackie mentioned, they're trying to get this parking lot built to get parking actually from the neighborhood across the street where their staff's having to park because middle school parents are parking in the Renaissance parking lot to pick their kids up, and it's just a mess. So
It is.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're
Further
welcome.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I don't have anyone else signed up to speak on this item, so I will close the public hearing. Jacqueline, what's the recommendation on this one?
Planning Commission recommended approval 4-0.
Thank you. Counselors?
I'd just like to make a comment, if I could. You disclosed when something that affected your neighborhood was on the agenda, and this affects mine. Mine is the neighborhood that is being parked in right now, and at one time, it was parents that were parking over there and taking their kids across the street, and I guess they told their staff to park across the street, and so now it's staff going back and forth in all that Sanger Ridge Middle School traffic, and it's plugging up the neighborhood, and it's been problematic. So my neighborhood is very excited about this project, and they'll be happier with my vote than your neighbors were with your vote.
No. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Well, and I'll ditto Counselor Clark. I used to live in the neighborhood as well, and I remember that as so, yeah. Yep.
All right. Is there action on the item?
I move approval, or whatever the right thing is to say. I recommend we accept the Planning Commission recommendation.
Second.
There we go.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation. Please vote. The item is approved with a vote of 5-0. That takes us to 7C, receive public comment regarding a request for a map amendment to rezone property addressed at 2817 East 6th Avenue from light industrial to commercial general, CC-22-196. Do we have good notice?
Yes, we do.
Jacqueline?
All right, thank you. The next item is a map amendment request located at 2817 East 6th Avenue, rezoning from light industrial to commercial general. The subject property is located on the south side of East 6 near Drury Street. Here's an aerial view of the subject property. Highland Park Elementary is located there to the northwest of the subject property, and Solid Rock Church is located to the east. This is a street view looking south on East 6 to the subject property. The subject property is currently zoned light industrial with similar zoning to the west. Commercial general is located to the east. To the north is two-family and multifamily residential. Last year, this property was rezoned from CG to light industrial in July of 2021. The current owners would like to operate a fitness center and gym, which is only allowed in CG, is not allowed in light industrial. The future land use map of the 2030 comprehensive plan desires for the community to have a commercial corridor along East 6th. Are there any questions for staff at this time?
Counselors? Yeah, we did just move this the other way, right?
Yep.
I mean, but it was more than a year ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further, counselors? This time I'll open the public hearing. I don't have anyone sign up to speak for this one. Now I'll close the public hearing at this time. Jacqueline, what was the recommendation of the Planning Commission?
Planning Commission recommends approval, a vote of 4-0.
Counselors?
Motion to accept Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the item is approved. Item 7D, receive public comment regarding a request for a map amendment to rezone properties addressed as 2318 and 2322 North Washington Street from small lot single family residential to commercial general. This is CC-22-197. Do we have good notice on this?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Jacqueline?
All right, thank you. All right, the final item that I'm presenting tonight is a map amendment request located at 2318 and 2322 North Washington from RSS to CG. The subject properties are located near the intersection of Washington/Boomer and Lakeview. Boomer Lake is located to the east of the subject property. LifeNet and OnQ gas stations are located to the south of Lakeview. The street view of the subject property is looking west on North Washington. 2318 North Washington is located with the south of this picture-ish, and it's with the primary structure. Current zoning of the subject property is RSS, with similar zoning to the north and west, commercial general located to the south, and public to the east. The desired use proposed by the 2030 comprehensive plan is low-density residential with commercial located to the south. Aaron Ferguson with Keystone Engineering and Surveying is here on behalf of the applicant. Are there any questions for staff at this time?
Counselors, any questions? Jacqueline, I'll ask you real quick. Again, just sort of a traffic or development question here. I remember when we rezoned that corner to commercial general, there was actually a planned, that was a car wash, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to have materialized. What is the process, given that that's a very busy corner? Generally, if they're going to build something commercial here, how much traffic study, like what is required for them for us to make sure that it doesn't create too much of a problem at that corner?
Right. So when it kind of comes in, once they come with a proposal of what the use is, they're going to have to go through our internal review, and then engineering will look at it, the traffic study of how much impact and traffic flow will be impacted, and if there's going to need to be any other, traffic changes to that location.
So that is studied before anything actually gets built?
Yeah, if it's a higher intensity use.
Do you know if these parcels are connected or they're owned?
They are not connected at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I will open the public hearing and we'll ask for the owner's representative to come forward.
Aaron Ferguson with Keystone Engineering at 923 South Lowry. We are requesting the CG zoning for these two properties, and there is CG zoning, again, to the south that could be extended to include these properties. The other properties around the area are zoned RSS. However, there are multiple properties that are currently being used as multifamily developments, and with multiple principal structures, and these properties could serve as a buffer to the existing traditional single-family homes located to the north along Preston Avenue. So with that, are there any questions for me?
Counselors? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you being here. I don't have anyone else signed up to speak in the public hearing, so I'll close the public hearing and ask Jacqueline for the Planning Commission's recommendation.
All right. Planning Commission's recommendation was approval with a vote 4-0.
Thank you. Counselors?
Move to accept staff, Planning Commission recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Planning Commission recommendation. Please vote. That item's approved with a vote of 5-0. Thank you,
Thank
Jacqueline.
you.
That takes us to item 8, general orders. 8A is consider approving a professional services agreement with GH2 Architects not to exceed $100,000 for several roof projects that Mr. McClenny is going to tell us about.
Good evening, John McClenny, Procurement Manager. The Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group is our current insurance carrier, and they recently did an inspection of city building roofs, and they're unable to insure some of our roofs. In addition to that, we had a wood antenna pole that snapped and fell on the water treatment plant's main building roof and caused structural damage this past spring, and then the hailstorm in May did not do us any favors as well. We requested a proposal from GH2 Architects for design, bid, and construction phase services, and we selected GH2 because they're the on-call architect for the state of Oklahoma. Their proposed fee is $87,480 and estimated 60 to 90 days to complete the design work. The preliminary estimated cost to repair and replace the roofs listed in the proposal is close to $2 million. So we will prepare a funding and phasing plan after we have design back and we know exactly what we're dealing with, and we'll come back to the council with that. The recommended source of funding for the design is the capital fund, and I have a motion, but I will ask if you have any questions first.
Counselors?
Is some of this damage pre-existing that's not hail damage?
Some of it's old age. The old armory has roughly 13 layers of roofing on it at the moment, and it still leaks. So, and it's unfortunately leaking on a brand new $80,000 floor, so we need to get that fixed.
So my question would be why you need an architect to put a roof on? But I guess if you've got 13 layers that you're having to pull up and replace, you're not just putting a new layer of tar down, right?
Yeah, and we don't have really the expertise on staff to know exactly what's up there, to spec it out the right way, to make sure that we get what we need back. In 20 years, codes regarding roof slopes and things have changed, so that's the primary reason that we need somebody to help with this.
Are any of these flat roofs with all those inherent problems?
Most of them are flat, with the exception of the barrel roof at the armory.
Do we have any sort of routine maintenance check on roofs, or is it just kind of as they
I'm not aware
deteriorate?
of a routine maintenance check on roofs. I think when they start to leak, we think they probably need some maintenance.
Yeah. There's no like maintenance tracking of them though, just to understand generally kind of
Not that I'm aware of.
inventory of where our roof lives are.
In fact, when
lives
they,
are.
well, we kind of know how old they are, but when the architect was here, he even said when he was looking at things that if it's not leaking, we generally recommend that you leave it alone. So
Sounds important.
Further questions, counselors? John, what's your recommendation for us?
we recommend a motion to approve a professional services agreement with GH2 Architects in a not-to-exceed amount of $100,000 for design, bid, and construction phase services for roof replacements, as outlined in the report, and authorize the city manager to sign the contract and approve the attached budget amendment.
Counselors?
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this item. Please vote. It's approved with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, John. Item 9 on the agenda is resolutions. 9A is Resolution CC-2022-32. This is a resolution approving the submission of an application for fiscal year 2023 Transportation Alternatives Grant Program administered by the Oklahoma Department of Transportation for a grant to fund a project to construct an ADA-compliant hard surface trail from Boomer Lake Park at Lakeview Road to McElroy Road as the first section of a rail-to-trail conversion, declaring a maintenance commitment for the life of the project, allocating the local match funds to the project account, and authorizing the mayor or vice mayor to execute necessary grant application documents. Here to tell us more is Brady Moore.
Mayor, if I may, one administrative matter before Brady gives his, what I know is going to be a stellar presentation. The resolution that's included in my agenda packet still includes in the title a scrivener's error. It states decaring instead of declaring. It's been corrected in the signature file, and just want to make that verbal change as well. It has been changed. So if
Okay.
it still shows if it's spelled incorrectly in your packet, it has been corrected.
I was just trying to find where it says that. Oh, it does say decaring.
Yes,
I
so
totally just read right over it.
All right.
we caught it, we changed it. So
Thank you.
just to be clear, thank you.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Brady Moore, Chief Innovation Officer. Tonight, I'm really excited to tell you about a project that we have been working on for almost 2 years, and to introduce a resolution that is before you for a grant application that will fund the first phase of this project. Fully connecting the Kamioka Trail from Boomer Lake to Couch Park has always been a challenge for Stillwater. When we started here, Mr. McNichol encouraged us to discover a way to connect the two ends of the trail. I told him, I said, we have a beautiful unused corridor that perfectly connects Boomer Lake to Couch Park. And of course, I was referring to the railway corridor. Norman would admit that he was skeptical when we first pitched the idea, but he allowed us to pursue the project. We drew up a proposal map that had the Stillwater Central line terminating at Lakeview, and it would still allow full access to the industries that are north of town. The last 2.5 miles of the rail corridor would then be preserved to create an accessible trail that would allow safe travel north and south through town. Mr. McNichol and I met with the one business in the city that we thought would be affected by this rail conversion, and we were surprised when the owner said that she would prefer it to be a trail, as they did not see rail use in their future. This new trail opportunity will be a beneficial quality of life project for Stillwater and an accessible trail for all citizens. The readapted corridor will provide safe north and south travel through town for residents that rely on or choose to use alternative means of transportation in their everyday life. Once completed, the Kamioka Trail extension would connect some of our most beautiful and utilized parks, including Boomer Lake, Strickland, and Couch Park. In addition to the parks, the trail would connect neighborhoods with grocery stores and multiple commercial districts. And lastly, and more obviously, the trail conversion will promote a healthy lifestyle of walking, running, and cycling. It's truly a beautiful wooded corridor that I would love to run or ride my bike through. So through multiple phone conversations and meetings at the Oklahoma Department of Transportation headquarters in Oklahoma City, we received a letter of support from ODOT in February. This was a conditional approval for the rail banking conversion, so we could start securing the funds for the project. ODOT administers the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program, also known as TA grants, that award grants for projects that advance non-motorized transportation opportunities like new pedestrian and bicycle facilities and supports the creation of new recreational trails. Our proposed Kamioka Trail extension perfectly fits the scope of this ODOT TA grant. So in September, we submitted our Rails to Trail conversion for their call to projects. And I'm happy to report that our project was called to submit a final application. The resolution before you tonight is to authorize staff to submit a grant application for $1.2 million that will require a city match of $240,000. This award and budget amount will allow us to create a paved ADA accessible trail from the intersection of Lakeview and Husband going along the south side of Lakeview, making connection at the rail intersection. The proposed trail will then head south through the wooded rail corridor to McElroy. This 1.25 mile section of trail will be the first phase of a multi-year project to complete the full 2.5 mile trail extension through the rail corridor to finally connect our Kamioka Trail from Boomer Lake to Couch Park. I have a recommended motion, but I'll pause now to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Brady. Councilors, any questions?
I just want to say I'm excited about this. Back in January, council received a recommendation for a path through town that meandered through city streets and was not very elegant, and this is extraordinarily elegant, and I love this, and I want to thank you for all the work you put into it, because I know you've put a lot of time into it. As I'm assuming as part of this project, we're going to be able to fix the crossing on McElroy that is so rough that I keep getting complaints about.
Yes, that is. There are multiple advantages to this project, and one of is the rail sections. Not only in the McElroy, which is we've all wanted to redesign, and our engineering staff has said that would save us a considerable amount of money when we go to redesign that section of road, but also Highway 51, the amount of design that will have to go into that, into a section that won't be used for rail. And then the crossing arm maintenance. I don't know if you've noticed, we've had those crossing arms come down during the middle of the day quite often, and so that's another fruit of this project. And I would agree with you and Mr. McNichol and I have, as far as evaluating options with other projects that we've brought to you for moving north through south, which has always been a challenge in this city for pedestrians and cyclists. This seems like a much safer, a much more direct route, along with the results of the study, the traffic study of Duck Street. I think the opportunities we have to eventually use that as another north-south corridor.
If I may, one of the things that we tossed around a lot, which I'm assuming would be a council concern, would be maintenance. We have the equipment to maintain that. I'm hoping that I can work a deal with the city attorney, and I think there would be droves of volunteers that would help us maintain that area. But a couple of flail mowers that they jack up in the air. It's kind of like a brush hog that goes up and can knock back that vegetation is all we think we would need. We don't have a lot of pavement problems with the Kamioka Trail as it sits, so we would not expect that on a already well compacted trailway.
Does the construction of the trail include items like lighting and, I don't know, where there's those bridge crossings, railings, and all that kind of stuff? And was that all included in what this would hopefully fund?
Yes, well, the lighting is not in the scope of this project, but we know that it's an important aspect, and we have discussed, and to back up just a little bit, we have discussed this publicly with like our Rotary groups in town. I've spoke to all the Rotary groups and to the Lions Club, and I've been shocked at how many people are excited and want to partner in this. I think it's a great project that could bring a lot of volunteer groups together. And on the lighting specific, we've looked at a study with OSU. They were doing this like grant program through their lighting and design architecture. I think it was landscape architecture group, looking at projects like this that could do those solar powered Ballard lights that are small. So not think like our typical high, wide light spread lights, but more of the smaller bollard size that just light the trail. So we think there's opportunities to go for additional grant funding or get other groups to come in and sponsor and help make this a reality. But in the scope of the work, the budget that they've given us back, we believe that it definitely pays for the pavement. We would keep there's 2 creek crossings that have bridges already there, but we've priced in the top structure that would go across. So
who removes the rails?
So that would be something that we work out with ODOT. Currently has a lease on our rail, Stillwater Central, with Watco. They've been involved in these conversations. We met with them in Oklahoma City. We got them excited about the project, and they would keep the rails. The lady that works for Watco is already like, I know where we could reuse those. So they would pick up the rails and reuse them, and then we're left with a really solid bed to build the concrete path on. So it's exciting.
I was hoping we got to recycle those rails and pay for half the project.
Exactly. Those aren't ours, Mr. Mayor.
Prior to the meeting, you and I talked a little bit about the fact that this is a redirection of Kamioka, and maybe we can touch on 2 things. Number one, the fact that you walked this and what you thought of it as you walked it. And the second thing is what happens to those fragments of trail that are left.
So there's going to be, one reason this has always been a challenge is because we've had these little trail fragments through town that we couldn't connect. And so there, whether it's trying to go through creeks that are closer to people's citizens' properties, and those things will still be there. I mean, it's still infrastructure that's valuable, right? With the high school being expanded into Cimarron Plaza, you still have a really nice trail there that they're proposing building a school next to that would have access to Boomer Lake, to Lakeview Landing, and the new developments going on there. You have the section of trail that goes from McElroy to Hall of Fame behind those commercial buildings. Those would still be accessible for residents that need to maybe get to Homeland or those grocery stores. The rail corridor goes very close to the underpass that is at Hall of Fame, so that we would be able to utilize that so there wouldn't have to be traffic concerns at Hall of Fame. And as we move further down towards Highway 51, if you remember the grant I was hinting at tonight when I presented the grant for the U.S. Department of Transportation planning grant, which we talked about overpass and underpass at Highway 51, that would tie into this project as well. If they can pull up in the control room the map, I will, to answer your questions too so this is the map that was in the packet and before you all tonight, kind of showing the scope of the project, the yellow section as this first phase. This is just pictures from last week, walking it. I mean, you can tell how wooded and beautiful it is. Pictures don't even do it justice. It's just a really nice, peaceful corridor connecting some cool neighborhoods and commercial districts in our in our town. And then this is the scope of the full project that we presented to ODOT still showing all the access to the industries up north in town. There's a switching section next to Boomer Lake Station for any car switching or rail switching that they need to do. And then now you just see this is the last 2.5 miles of the rail corridor that would be converted to a trail, and you can just see how it perfectly connects our Boomer Lake to Couch Park. So, exciting.
I want to say thank you, Brady. Sometimes human nature, we tend to make things harder than they need to be, and not to put anything against the original idea for the corridor that was going to link one end of town to the other. But I appreciate the fact that you took something that's a piece of our history and going to continue it, but it's just going to be done in a different way and allow people even more access to get from one end to the other and enjoy our community at a different level. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
You can, I mean, across the country, this kind of idea of rails to trails has been really impactful to communities as they embrace, you know, biking events and running events, and these can be really instrumental not only to access and inclusion and equity for folks that don't travel by car, but also recreation and additional, like bringing visitors and things. I think it is, like you said, it is a quality of life project for our community. I think these types of projects help attract people into our community because it shows them that we have a certain quality of life when it comes to being outside of our cars and just kind of investing in the space around our community. It's really well done. Thank you so much for all the work that you put into it and for getting us this far.
Thank you. Yep, I'm a fan of Northwest Arkansas. I make no secret about it. I love Bentonville in that area, and I know when we go to try to stay, we look for an Airbnb or a hotel that's near their trail that connects, you know, Bentonville to Rogers, and you can ride your bike. It's just such a neat thing. So I think this will be an economic driver too as well, but it's definitely a quality of life. Yep.
If I may point out one other advantage, when they remove the rails, they will remove them in their entirety for the entire 2.5 mile length. So that gravel bed still makes a relatively decent trail that would be available for use.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's neat that they would do that. I mean, the Katy Trail goes across Missouri, and a lot of it's just gravel.
Yeah. It's like
gravel's
nice pea gravel.
Yeah, it's really heavy gravel.
It's not railroad gravel.
Yeah.
But this is Bobby's favorite kind of gravel.
That's right. That's right. Yep. And I think what's most, I'll end on this, is I think what's encouraging is how much ODOT is excited for this project. It being their rail corridor, and we need their involvement throughout the process, and how they've encouraged us to get it to this section for this first round of funding and do it in a phased approach, which is great. It's kind of what we need anyway.
So how, when do we expect to see a decision on the grant? Do you know?
So that we were rushed to get it. We just found out November 1st that our project was called. We had to get this to you tonight, and then our application is due by the end of the month. And then we will hopefully hear something, sometime in the spring.
Cool. Anything further, counselors? Well, just to add additional thanks. This is a ton of work, and from you, from other folks in the community who have been working on trying to figure out how to connect trails better in our community. It's also not the end of that conversation at all, right? We've got a lot of other places we need to connect. We need to get a trail out to the Meridian Lakes. We need to get a bunch of other stuff connected too, but love the creativity and the hard work it's taken to get this one to this point. And with that, I'll ask the council if there's a recommended, or if there's an action they'd like to take on this resolution.
I move approval of Resolution CC 2022-32.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Resolution CC-2022-32 is approved. Thank you, Brady. Item 9B, Resolution number CC-2022. My agenda says 2002. But the resolution itself is titled CC-2022-33. This is a resolution of the City Council establishing the Transportation Projects Advisory Committee. This is a committee we've talked about and actually already put some people on to help advise the council in regard to transportation funding and our new half-cent sales tax. This is the sort of formal resolution to make that official. Anything further we need to know about?
The entire committee received the resolution last week, and all of them believed that it was an appropriate rendition of their job.
Well, we appreciate the work that they're doing and will do to help advise the council on the use of our transportation sales tax funding to make sure that we're doing everything we can to improve transportation across the community in all the different ways that we do. So, further questions about the resolution, council, or is there action you'd like to take?
Motion to
Go ahead.
motion to adopt resolution CC 2022-33.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, resolution CC-2022-33 is adopted. Item 10 is ordinances. On first reading, we have ordinance 3046 corrected. This is an ordinance which corrects, this is an ordinance correcting the legal description of ordinance 3046, closing the Hartford Street right-of-way between properties addressed as 798 and 1060 East Knotts Avenue. Any questions about the ordinance, which corrects Scrivener's error in the legal description?
Yes, it stated block and it was missing the 1, so we've made that correction.
Councilors?
Motion to advance ordinance number 3046 to second read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance ordinance 3046 corrected to second read. Please vote. It's advanced with a vote of 5-0. Item B is ordinance number 3511, an ordinance closing a portion of rights-of-way of South Duncan Street, East Block 63, original town site of Stillwater, in addition to the city of Stillwater, Payne County, Oklahoma, near property addressed as 1206 South Duncan Street. This was an item from our last meeting. Councilors?
Motion to advance ordinance number 3511 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance the ordinance. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, ordinance 3511 is advanced to second reading. Item C is ordinance 3512. This is an ordinance closing a portion of the rights-of-way for South Duncan Street, East Block 63, original town site of Stillwater, in addition to the city of Stillwater, Payne County, Oklahoma, near property addressed as 1206 South Duncan Street.
Move to adopt.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Advance. Sorry, yes.
Both of those say 1206, B and C. I just noticed that. I think one of them is not supposed to be 1206.
It's supposed to be 1202.
So this item is 1202.
So the title of the ordinance itself says 1202. The agenda just says 1206. I don't suppose that's a problem.
This was an item from this evening, so we'll just bring it on the next agenda. My recommendation would be that we skip that one for now.
Okie dokie.
I think, wasn't that last week?
It was last week, but they
Okay. Item C?
Yes.
Yes. Those were the two right-of-way closings we did last week.
Okay.
It just has a typo in the title on the agenda. The title on the actual ordinance in the packet is correct.
Just a moment. Just out of an abundance of caution, I would recommend that we place this on the next agenda because the address is giving notice for the ordinance. So we'll correct it on the next agenda.
Can we advance it and correct it on second read? Or would you prefer we didn't?
If there was, usually you're correcting something in the ordinance and this is the notice on the agenda. So again, I would prefer that we bring it on the next
Understood.
meeting.
We will readdress ordinance 3512 on our next agenda. Item 10D, ordinance 3513, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land located at 2817 East 6th Avenue from commercial shopping light industrial to commercial general.
Move to advance ordinance 3513 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance 3513. Please vote. With a vote of 5 to 0, that ordinance is advanced to second reading. Item E is ordinance 3514, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land located at 4703 North Washington Street from small lot single-family residential to two-family residential.
Motion to advance ordinance 3514.
Second.
A motion and a second, please vote. With a vote of 5 to 0, ordinance 3514 is advanced to second reading. Item F is ordinance number 3515, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land located at 2318 and 2322 North Washington Street from small lot single-family residential to commercial general.
Move to advance ordinance 3515 to second reading.
Second.
With a motion and a second, please vote. With a vote of 5 to 0, ordinance 3515 is advanced to second reading. And item G is ordinance number 3516, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land located at 2000 South Sanger Road from small lot single-family residential to office, and a tract of land located at 2100 South Sanger Road from two-family residential to office.
Motion to advance ordinance 3516.
Second.
With a motion and a second to advance ordinance 3516, please vote. With a vote of 5 to 0, ordinance 3516 is advanced to second read. On second read of 3516, there's a for or from that needs to be added to the title. 2100 South Sanger Road from two-family residential to office.
Noted, thank you.
All right. That takes us to item 11, reports from officers and boards. Actually, before we do that, I'm actually going to skip down to item 13 if no one has an objection, and we'll do our appointments. Item 13A is to acknowledge the appointments of Stephen Mayo and the reappointment of Robert Sitton to the Rural Water Advisory Board. We don't make those appointments directly, but we do acknowledge, we need a motion to acknowledge the fact that a new board member has been appointed and that Robert Sitton has been reappointed as the chair of that Rural Water Advisory Board. Discussion or motion on the item? Or actually, I will make that motion that we recognize those new terms on the Rural Water Advisory Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5 to 0, those appointments are acknowledged. Thank you to Mr. Sitton and to all the folks who serve on the Rural Water Advisory Board. A thankless job, to be sure. But we'll thank you here tonight. All right, that takes us to item 11, reports from officers and boards. Ms. Carnley.
A request for an executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307B3 for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the purchase or appraisal of real property. Also, an executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307C11 for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development.
Thank you. Mr. McNichol.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Areas of the animal welfare facility are closed to the public due to emergency repairs from previous storm damage. And as you all know, the facility was already in less than optimal condition. Please know our shelter is full of dogs and cats in need of adoption. Dogs are $60 to adopt. This includes spay and neuter, all shots, and a microchip. If you're looking to add a furry friend to your family, stop by the Animal Welfare Building at 1710 South Main Street or follow Stillwater Animal Welfare on Facebook for regular updates about what animals are available.
Sounds like a perfect Christmas gift for someone. And I think qualifies for Small Business Saturday if you want to go down there after Thanksgiving. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yes, the opening weekend for Mary Main Street will be Friday, November 25th, with the tree lighting downtown on the courthouse lawn at 6 p.m. Festivities will be the 4 weekends between Thanksgiving and Christmas. You'll be able to check out free carriage rides, the large dome north of the community center, holiday lights to set to music at Chris Salmon Plaza, Santa and Sensitive Santa from the North Pole, and much, much more. Don't forget to shop SUA, Stillwater, and support local businesses for your holiday gifts and food. A list of holiday festivities and events can be found at stillwater.org and at visitstillwater.org and Mary Main Street Facebook.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Councilor Hawkins.
It's that time of year to apply or renew your burglar or fire alarm permit registration with the City of Stillwater. Permits are $6 per alarm on your property. Residents who are 62 years of age and government entities do not pay fees. Applications are available online at stillwater.org and in person at the Stillwater Police Department.
Thank you, Counselor. $6 per alarm seems like it's probably something that's been in place for a long time.
That was an ordinance that I think I shared in crafting back in many years ago.
Perhaps something we should review. Counselor Jaloski.
City offices will be closed on Thursday, November 24th and Friday, November 25th for the Thanksgiving holiday. Trash and recycling will be collected as usual. However, the convenience collection center will be closed and yard waste will not be collected. As always, set your carts out by 6 a.m. because collection routes can vary.
And huge thanks to our collection folks who work on holidays and make sure we don't end up with a
Yes.
bunch of holiday trash lying
Yes.
around. Thanks to those folks. Counselor Clark.
We continue to remind residents of available funding assistance if you've had difficulty making utility or rent payments as a result of COVID-19. The City of Stillwater and Our Daily Bread may be able to help. The funding assistance program will be available until all funds are dispersed. Please go to ourdailybreadstillwater.org to apply and for more information.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mr. McNichol, you have one more?
I do. I would like to express condolences to the family of Joe Staley. We lost him today. An icon in Stillwater law enforcement, 52 years of service to Payne County, to the District Attorney's Office, to Oklahoma State University Police Department, and a very short stint with Stillwater PD years ago. So, good man. Sorry for his loss, and again, condolences to family members and the many friends that he had.
Absolutely. I would like to remind folks about the Stillwater Holiday Parade of Lights, which is on December 1st, beginning at 7 p.m. If you'd like to be in the Stillwater Holiday Parade of Lights, please complete a form online at stillwater.org or in person at the Stillwater Community Center, which is at 315 West 8th. The deadline to submit entries is this Thursday, November 17th by 4:30 p.m. This year's theme is Christmas Vacation, which gives entrants an opportunity to really showcase their creativity. We're looking forward to seeing all the great entries and lighting up the night in downtown Stillwater on December 1st, beginning at 7 p.m. Also, an appearance by the Stillwater High School Marching Band, I hear, which is one
And
of my
Santa.
favorites. And Santa, of course. Not together, probably.
No, well,
We'll see.
gotta go
You
gotta
never
go
say.
see.
Yeah, you never know. All right, at this time, I will make a motion to recess the city council meeting prior to item 14.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess city council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now in recess. At this time, I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for November 14th, 2022. We have a number of items on the consent docket. Is there action?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is now approved. Item 5A is the Rural Water Advisory Board's semi-annual report from Mr. Robert Sitton.
Thank you, councilors. I am Robert Sitton, Chairman of the Rural Payne County Advisory Board for the City of Stillwater. And I don't know if you know why or why we even exist, but you all graciously bought our water system out, and we thank you for that. So now we wanted to be able to still have a say-so in on what happens, and the only way we can do that is through this advisory board, because none of us rurally vote for any of you all. So thank you for allowing me to, and us to participate in with the City of Stillwater's actions. It's greatly appreciated. the way that you all take care of us. One of the things I wanted to bring about was some of the things on awareness that I've pointed out on page 3. Youth Lake Pump Station, I'm sure Bill has talked to you about that it needs upgrades. This, whenever you all purchased us, it was on Exhibit C, item number 12. Should have been completed somewhere before June the 30th, 2015. We're really needing that, in need of upgrading, because the fact we're almost into a mandate because there isn't enough pressure out there in the northwest zone. And the sooner that gets done, then the more building that you'll have, and of course, the more building you'll have, then you'll have to fund the water department to have more people, because they need to get out there and get this done. As we continue on with the report, you can read what other awarenesses are. We go on down to C. We did have a large section of land sold, 540 acres out there on Coyle Road. So again, this is going to, if it is broken down, we're going to need more water meters. You all have upgraded. We've got excellent pressure out there in that zone. But Bill's going to have men to work to put meters in. And right now they're running somewhere around 80%. We know that we're all having a hiring problem with people out there. We don't know how to take care of it because there's not people out there. But still, just be aware of it, that there's a lot of good people out there. We don't know how to hire good ones right now. And but we would like to advance on as in our water on the northwest zone, so in that way we can get more building going on. Builders are out there. They're wanting to go out there, but the pressure is low. Any questions?
Trustees? Trustees, any questions? Thanks, sir.
All right.
Appreciate you being here, and we'll further review that report and hopefully be able to get some more folks on the water team out there too.
Well, Bill has done, as you see on the previous report that I gave you 6 months ago, a lot of my charts and graphs, attachments, were not up to date because Bill has lost people in the office. And so he took time off graciously from doing his head roll to get me all those numbers. So all those charts are up to date now.
That's great.
Good.
He's running his office as if it's 2 or 3 people with what he's doing. And so I very much appreciate him. Hopefully the city of Stillwater will show that they appreciate him also, because he's doing more than one person's job to keep me going also. And I'm sure the water department also.
We appreciate you letting us know that too.
Thank you.
It's good to know. Thank you. All right, item 5B. Consider approving termination of the agreement of construction management at risk between the SUA and Burns and McDonald. And I think Bill Millis is going to present this to us.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Bill Millis with the Engineering Department. Here tonight to discuss changing course regarding the project delivery method for the water treatment plant and raw water delivery system improvements. You'll remember in June 2021, the trustees authorized an agreement with Burns and McDonald to serve as a construction manager at risk for this program. And that during that summer and into the fall, we worked on the project definition phase. And once that phase was complete and the project was defined, staff began searching for and applying for funding for this large program, but finding, very large funding in the amounts we needed in the hundreds of millions of dollars, we were not successful. So we've redefined the approach to getting those improvements done to a phased approach, completing projects in smaller increments as funding becomes available. And that's the approach that David presented in August at the study session. He included the map that's in your packets, included the breakdown of the first parts of those phases. There'll be many more, but those are the the current 3 that we're working on most immediately. So tonight's agenda item is not about performance. Burns and Mack worked alongside our designer to help us define a very large-scale program and develop accurate cost models for that for numerous options. So we truly appreciate the work that their team has done for us. What this agenda item is about is using the right tool for the job. And given the change in our approach, staff believes that Construction Manager at Risk, or CMAR, is no longer the right tool for the job. That is, we don't anticipate the additional cost of having a CMAR consultant on the project. We don't anticipate those costs will be offset by savings during construction. In fact, during our discussions and making this decision with Burns and McDonnell, they agreed and had come to the same conclusion. And given where we are now, CMAR is not the right tool. So we do have a recommendation. We wanted to stop and try to answer any questions before going there.
Trustees, questions for Bill?
Such a complicated process and project that you all are working through. It's really refreshing that we had a consultant that was willing to have this difficult conversation. That's not a typical consultant thing to do. So I'm really grateful that Burns and Mack has been such a good project partner to us and was willing to kind of holistically look at where we're at and
They
what
have been a good partner, and we appreciate
right
it.
thing for us is, right? So that's great to hear that it's not performance based and that it's truly just looking at what's best for our project and the work that we're going to move forward with. Is there, because it's phased and will come in these smaller sections or projects, will there be another type of tool that we would use, or will it just simply be kind of this project by project basis?
It could be. You may be familiar, there's multiple project delivery methods. And what we're doing now is going back to the more traditional design, bid, build. But at different phases of this program, various project delivery methods or tools might be more appropriate. It could be that CMAR is appropriate depending on the size and complexity and what's going on in the future. Could be that design build is more appropriate, but right now, with the projects that are first up, the more traditional design bid build is the right tool.
When you say Burns and Mack agrees that termination is that this isn't the right tool if we're going to a phased approach, were they involved in the decision around whether to go to a phased approach at the in the first place, or is that really just a budget decision for us?
That's more of a budget and financing decision.
Okay. And I mean, I know we're still working on budget and finance and trying to find additional funds for the project. Are we past the point where if we were able to find, a bigger pot of money out there, that we would go back to a bigger size of the project, or are we sort of at this point down the road where we're going to phase it no matter what?
Well, the phasing would happen larger and faster if we found, say, a big pot of money. So we're not tied where, we can accelerate the phases or make them larger, depending on funding. Right now, they're kind of sized and spaced to meet the funding constraints, but that can be modified.
Okay. I mean, I guess my question, or I guess a little bit of just heartburn around it, is just I really, really want to be sure that we've looked under every rock and found every potential pot of money, because I think what you all proposed at the beginning around a big, much larger scale project to replace a bigger portion of the water treatment plant, if not the entire water treatment plant, is probably still the best course of action for the long-term water needs of our community. And I think, given that we're talking about a huge project here, either way, right? I hope we're still shooting for the project that our community needs for 50 years, instead of kind of just doing what we can
Piecemealing.
piecemeal. I mean, I know that was what we got to do if that's all the money we have, but I haven't given up on the money part yet. I guess is the part that I'm, and I know you all haven't either. I know everybody is still out there looking for money, but I don't want us to get too far down a road where we go, well, no, we're just going to do little projects here, and we're not really focusing on the big, what we decided we needed at the beginning. If that makes any sense.
Yes, and you're exactly right. Staff is still looking for money. It's kind of a continuous, year-round thing, not just once and we didn't find anything, so we give up.
Yeah.
And we still have that sense of urgency to get, as much as we can done as quickly as we can, and definitely ready and willing to accelerate and expand that as much as the funding will allow.
Okay.
And certainly the 50-year issue is one that I raised when we looked at the scaled-back projects. I'm told that when complete, that the water treatment plant would indeed fulfill our needs for the next 50 years.
With the phased projects?
With the phased project, yes.
I think though too, right, the construction manager at risk, that's a project delivery methodology. So it kind of gives an oversight to, right, it's a different form of oversight kind of, as opposed to, like you were saying, the more traditional, somebody designs it, then we bid it out, and then somebody builds it, or an integrated kind of design build where somebody's designing and building it. So it seems as though, and I feel like I'm just restating what you said, Bill, but if we found a larger pot of money, you could find an opportunity for the bigger project, and if that required a construction manager at risk, we could still look at it if that's what we felt was the right method for project oversight.
Yes, most certainly. And thank you for translating the engineering to English.
I speak just a little bit of engineering. Well, that's helpful, and I certainly I think understand kind of why we're going where we're going. I want us as a community and as a board to sort of start definitely be looking at this project as as big of a project as when we first built the pipeline, and what that did for our community over a 50-year period or close to 50-year period, and huge investment, big reach for the community at the time, and paid off more than we could have, I think, even imagined at the time. And this project has a similar sort of I think a future ahead of it, and I want us to keep pushing as hard as we can, right? And so a little bit this feels like taking a step back and going, well, we can't really do as much as we wanted to do, but as long as you guys feel like we're still pushing as hard as we can to get all of the stuff our community really needs, then it makes sense.
Yes, and believe me, yeah, we have been and will be continue to be leaning forward and working for the best long-term community needs of the community.
Good. Trustees, further questions? What's your recommendation for us, Bill?
Staff recommends a motion to approve termination of the agreement for construction management at risk services between the SUA and Burns & McDonnell.
Trustees?
Move to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the staff's recommendation. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved. Thank you, Bill, for all of that work and all the work that we heard you're doing for the Rural Water Corp as well, and everything you're doing over there. Any reports from the officers of the board? Is there a motion to adjourn the SUA?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SUA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Utilities Authority is now adjourned. At this time, I will call to order the November 14th, 2022 meeting of the Stillwater Economic Development Authority. Is there recommended action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
Motion and a second on consent. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Any reports from the officer or the board? Is there a motion to adjourn SEDA?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SEDA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting is now adjourned. At this time, I will reconvene the Stillwater City Council meeting. We are at item 14 on the agenda. Is there a motion to enter executive session for the reasons requested by the city attorney?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to enter executive session as the Stillwater City Council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the City Council will now enter executive session. Okay, is there a motion to reconvene city council?
Second.
A motion and a second to reconvene in regular session. Please call the roll.
Mayor Joyce?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Zanotti?
Yes.
Counselor Jaloski?
Yes.
Counselor Hawkins?
Yes.
Counselor Clark?
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, we'll now reconvene in regular session. Was there any recommended action on executive session?
No action.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn the city council meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Mayor Joyce?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Zanotti?
Yes.
Counselor Jaloski?
Yes.
Counselor Hawkins?
Yes.
Counselor Clark?
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening.